What is
In the
this?
small
Explain yourself
coastal
right
town
now.
of
I didn't do
Wilmington,
anything
North
wrong, I
Carolina,
swear.
the
This is
Harper
unacceptable.
family
We need
looked
to talk
like
about
something
this.
Straight out of a magazine spread, with their white picket fence and Sunday barbecues that drew the whole neighborhood. Caleb Harper worked the night shifts at Wilmington General Hospital, where he served as a dedicated trauma surgeon, saving lives while his own home life slowly crumbled without him noticing. Madison Harper, once a vibrant elementary school teacher, had left her career behind when their second child arrived, and now she spent her days drowning in laundry piles, grocery runs, and the exhausting routine of motherhood that left her feeling invisible. Their two kids, Emma, age 7, and Noah, age 4, were the center of everything, bright and loud and full of that chaotic energy that both exhausted and fulfilled Madison. But lately, when she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back at her with tired eyes and unwashed hair pulled into a messy bun. Caleb came home most mornings just as the kids were waking up, collapsing into bed while Madison handled breakfast, school drop-offs, park visits, and the endless stream of needs that small children demanded. She would watch them sleep sometimes, wondering when they had stopped being lovers and become just roommates, passing each other in shifts. Everything shifted the day Logan Harper showed up on their doorstep 3 months ago, with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder and that trademark cocky grin that made trouble look appealing. Caleb rushed to embrace his younger brother, thrilled to have him home after 4 years in the Marines, where Logan had served as a reconnaissance specialist, seeing action that he refused to discuss in detail. Logan was 28, all restless energy and sharp edges, with tattoos crawling up both forearms, and a laugh that came easy and often. Caleb insisted Logan stay with them as long as he needed, despite the 2-bedroom house already feeling cramped with 4 people. Madison had protested initially, worried about the disruption to their routine, but Caleb dismissed her concerns with that calm doctor voice he used when he thought he knew best. Logan had charmed the kids immediately, hoisting Noah onto his shoulders and teaching Emma some modified Marine exercises that made her giggle uncontrollably. Within days, he had become part of their household, helping with dishes, offering to watch the kids, and filling the quiet house with music and stories that made Madison laugh for the first time in months. What we can already see forming here is the dangerous territory of unmet needs and blurred boundaries. Madison felt starved for attention and appreciation, while Caleb remained oblivious to his wife's loneliness, pouring all his energy into his patients. Logan, meanwhile, carried his own unresolved feelings and the restlessness of a man without direction or purpose. The family was setting itself up for disaster by ignoring the warning signs that healthy relationships require intentional effort, communication, and clear boundaries, especially when introducing new dynamics into an already strained household.
Logan settled into their lives with alarming ease, taking over the guest room that doubled as Madison's craft space and making himself useful in ways that Caleb never seemed to manage anymore. He started picking Emma up from school when Madison had errands, saving her the rush through traffic and waiting in the pickup line. Emma would burst through the door, chattering about how Uncle Logan let her pick the radio station and sang along badly to her favorite songs, making funny voices that had her in stitches. Logan began cooking dinner most nights, throwing together meals he'd learned in the Marines that were surprisingly good, and filling the kitchen with laughter and stories while Caleb slept upstairs, recovering from another brutal shift. Madison found herself looking forward to these evenings more than she wanted to admit, watching Logan move confidently around her kitchen, chopping vegetables and teasing her about her organizational systems that he called military-grade precision. Their conversations flowed naturally, from childhood memories to current events to deeper topics about dreams and regrets that she hadn't discussed with anyone in years. Logan listened in a way that made her feel seen, really seen, for the first time since the kids were born, asking follow-up questions and remembering small details she mentioned in passing. One afternoon, while Caleb slept and the kids napped, Logan found Madison crying quietly at the kitchen table, overwhelmed by the loneliness that had become her constant companion. He sat beside her without speaking at first, then gently asked what was wrong, and Madison found herself confessing everything. The isolation of motherhood, the way Caleb had become a ghost in their marriage, the feeling that she had disappeared into the roles of wife and mother until nothing of her original self remained. Logan reached out and squeezed her hand, a gesture meant to comfort, but the touch lingered seconds too long, and when their eyes met, something electric passed between them that made Madison pull away quickly, her heart hammering. But the moment had happened, and they both knew it, hanging in the air like smoke that couldn't be cleared away. The touching increased after that, always innocent on the surface, but charged with intention. Logan's hand on her lower back as he moved past her in the narrow hallway, their fingers brushing when he handed her a coffee cup, the way he stood just slightly too close when they talked in the kitchen late at night after everyone else was asleep. Madison told herself it meant nothing, that she was reading too much into friendly gestures from her brother-in-law, but she started putting on makeup before Logan woke up and wearing her nicer clothes around the house instead of the stained sweatpants that had become her uniform. She caught him watching her sometimes, with an intensity that made her skin flush, and she couldn't deny that she liked it, liked feeling desirable again after years of feeling like just a mom. What we see here is the slow erosion of boundaries that happens when emotional needs go unmet in a marriage. Madison wasn't looking for an affair, but her vulnerability made her susceptible to attention from someone who made her feel valued. Logan wasn't a predator, but his own lack of direction and inappropriate feelings created a perfect storm. Neither of them had the wisdom to recognize that what felt like connection was actually emotional infidelity that would inevitably progress. The lesson forming here is that marriages require constant maintenance and honest communication about needs before resentment and loneliness create openings for betrayal.
Lauren could not comprehend Nathan's response, having expected justified rage and immediate divorce papers, but instead found herself held by her husband as they both cried on their living room couch. Nathan admitted the betrayal cut deeper than anything he experienced, including the traumatic fires and losses at his job, but that throwing away 10 years of love and history felt like letting the tragedy win. The following weeks tested them in ways Lauren never imagined, as Nathan processed his pain through individual therapy while they also attended marriage counseling together 3 times weekly. Some days, Nathan could barely look at her, consumed by mental images of her with Derek, while other days he held her hand, determined to move forward, despite the agonizing hurt that still consumed him. Nathan made one absolute requirement, that Lauren cut all contact with Derek permanently, delete every message and social media connection, and commit fully to their marriage without any lingering fantasies about the man who abandoned her. Lauren agreed completely, recognizing how Nathan's willingness to stay and forgive represented a love deeper than anything Derek ever offered with his empty promises and selfish betrayal. As Lauren's pregnancy progressed, Nathan surprised her by attending every single doctor's appointment, asking questions about fetal development, and holding her hand during the ultrasound that revealed they were expecting a daughter. He placed his hand on Lauren's growing belly, feeling the baby kick, and made a powerful declaration that this child would be his daughter in every way that mattered, regardless of biology or DNA. Their therapist, Dr. Rebecca Santos, explained that Nathan's choice to forgive and raise another man's child demonstrated extraordinary emotional maturity, but warned them both that healing from infidelity required years, not months, of consistent effort, communication, and rebuilt trust. Lauren committed to complete transparency, giving Nathan access to her phone, location, and schedule, while proving through daily actions that she valued their marriage above everything. Lauren also began journaling her thoughts and feelings, discovering through painful self-reflection that her affair stemmed from her own insecurities about aging, fear of missing out on excitement, and taking Nathan's steady, dependable love for granted. She realized Derek represented an illusion of passion without substance, while Nathan offered genuine partnership that could weather even catastrophic storms.
When their daughter, Grace Elizabeth Mitchell, was born on a rainy October morning, Nathan cut the umbilical cord and held the tiny infant against his chest. He whispered promises to Grace that he would be the father she deserved, protecting and loving her unconditionally. And in that moment, Lauren witnessed the true meaning of grace, unearned forgiveness that transforms brokenness into beauty. As Grace grew from infant to toddler with dark curls and bright green eyes that resembled neither parent, Nathan never once treated her as anything less than his beloved daughter. He changed diapers, walked floors during sleepless nights, taught her to ride a tricycle, and filled their home with the kind of love that transcends genetics, proving that family is built through choice and commitment, not just biology. Lauren's career continued successfully with the promotion she earned, but she restructured her priorities, ensuring work travel was minimal and that Nathan and Grace always came first. She learned that true fulfillment came not from external validation or exciting affairs, but from nurturing the precious relationships right in front of her that she almost destroyed through selfish choices. The Chicago business trip that nearly ended their marriage instead became the catalyst for a deeper, more authentic love, as Nathan and Lauren rebuilt their relationship on radical honesty, vulnerability, and daily choices to prioritize each other. They renewed their wedding vows on their 15th anniversary, with 4-year-old Grace as their flower girl, symbolizing how their broken pieces had been transformed into something even stronger. What we learn from this story. This story teaches us that taking love for granted and seeking excitement outside committed relationships leads to devastating consequences that hurt everyone involved, including ourselves. Lauren's selfishness and pursuit of nostalgic fantasy nearly destroyed the genuine love Nathan offered, showing how affairs provide only temporary illusion while damaging real intimacy and trust built over years. We learn that true strength lies not in perfection, but in choosing forgiveness even when deeply wounded, as Nathan demonstrated by seeing past betrayal to salvage their marriage and embrace Grace as his daughter. His response shows that unconditional love means making conscious daily choices to forgive, rebuild, and commit, even when feelings are raw and painful. The story reveals how grass is greener thinking blinds us to the value of what we already possess, as Lauren discovered too late that Derek's exciting persona masked shallow character, while Nathan's steady dependability reflected profound love worth cherishing. We must actively appreciate and nurture our relationships rather than seeking validation from external sources or past connections that distract from present blessings. Finally, we learn that mistakes, even catastrophic ones, need not define our future if we take full responsibility, seek genuine change, and find partners willing to extend grace. Lauren's journey from selfish betrayal to redemption through grateful commitment shows that redemption requires humility, consistent effort, and recognition that real love is built through sacrifice, communication, and choosing your partner repeatedly, especially when it is difficult.
Lauren Mitchell stood at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport terminal gate, clutching her carry-on bag, while her husband Nathan wrapped his strong arms around her waist one final time before boarding. She breathed in his familiar scent of cedar and coffee, promising him she would call every single evening during her week-long marketing conference in Chicago, Illinois, even though they had never spent more than 2 nights apart in their entire 10 years of marriage. Nathan, a 34-year-old firefighter with kind hazel eyes and sandy brown hair, kissed her forehead gently, reassuring her that this business trip represented a massive career milestone she absolutely deserved. He joked about burning dinner while she was gone, but secretly planned an elaborate romantic welcome home celebration, complete with rose petals, candles, and her favorite lasagna recipe from his Italian grandmother. The flight to Chicago felt endless as Lauren reviewed her presentation notes for the National Marketing Summit, where over 500 professionals would gather at the luxurious Riverside Convention Center downtown. She was nervous yet thrilled, having worked 18 months on the campaign analysis she would present, hoping to impress the senior partners at her firm, who hinted at a promotion. After checking into her hotel room overlooking the Chicago River with its glittering city lights reflected on dark waters, Lauren unpacked her business suits and called Nathan as promised. They talked about his shift at the firehouse and her excitement for tomorrow's opening keynote, neither suspecting how drastically everything would change. The next morning, Lauren entered the buzzing conference hall filled with networking professionals when a familiar voice called her name, making her heart skip unexpectedly. It was Derek Hayes, her college boyfriend from Northwestern University 12 years ago, looking impossibly handsome in a tailored navy suit with silver cufflinks. Derek, now a successful tech entrepreneur specializing in digital marketing analytics, had aged like fine wine, with his dark hair slightly gray at the temples and confident posture that commanded attention. They hugged awkwardly at first, then fell into easy conversation over coffee, reminiscing about their campus days, study sessions, and that unforgettable spring break road trip to California. What started as innocent catching up at the coffee station somehow extended through lunch at a trendy downtown bistro, where Derek ordered wine and made Lauren laugh harder than she had in months. His stories about building his startup company, traveling internationally, and living in a downtown Chicago penthouse painted a picture of excitement and adventure that felt worlds away from her comfortable but predictable Seattle suburban life with Nathan. As afternoon sessions began, Lauren found herself distracted during presentations, constantly glancing across the auditorium where Derek sat, taking notes but occasionally catching her eye with that mischievous grin she remembered from their youth. When the day ended, Derek suggested drinks at the hotel bar, and despite the tiny voice of warning in her mind, Lauren agreed, telling herself it was simply networking between old friends, nothing more. The weeks following that first dinner became a delicate dance of temptation and restraint. Ethan began spending more time at the Reynolds home, often staying over on weekends in the guest room. Sophia told herself she was just being a welcoming host, making her daughter's boyfriend feel like family, but the truth was far more complicated. Late one Friday night, Sophia couldn't sleep and wandered downstairs for water. She found Ethan sitting at the kitchen island, strumming his guitar softly, the moonlight casting shadows across his face. He looked up, startled, then smiled that devastating smile that had begun haunting her dreams. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked, setting the guitar aside gently. "I hope I didn't wake you with my playing." Sophia shook her head, pulling her robe tighter, suddenly aware of how little she wore beneath it. "No, I just needed some water. It's nice, actually, hearing you play. You're very talented." Ethan stood and moved closer than necessary to pour her a glass, their fingers brushing as he handed it to her. "Thank you," he said quietly, his eyes searching hers. "You know, I really admire you, Sophia. Raising Ava alone, building your career, being so strong and beautiful." She should have walked away right then. Instead, she found herself frozen as Ethan continued talking about how mature and fascinating she was compared to girls his age, how he felt this inexplicable connection to her that he couldn't understand. When his hand reached up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, Sophia finally found her voice. "This can't happen," she whispered, stepping back, trembling. "You're with my daughter, Ethan. This is wrong in every possible way." "I know," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "But I can't stop thinking about you, Sophia. Every time I'm with Ava, I feel guilty because you're the one I want to talk to be near." Before she could respond, footsteps sounded upstairs. They jumped apart just as Ava appeared, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Hey, you two, what are you doing up?" she asked, yawning. "Just getting water, sweetheart," Sophia managed, her voice somehow steady. "Go back to bed." The close call should have ended things, but instead it intensified them. Over the next month, stolen glances became lingering touches. Accidental encounters in hallways became deliberately orchestrated moments alone. When Ava went to her college classes, Ethan would find excuses to stop by, claiming he wanted to ask Sophia's advice about career moves or apartments. One afternoon, when Ava was away for a weekend trip with friends, rain pattering against windows, Ethan showed up at Sophia's door, drenched from a sudden storm. She let him in against her better judgment, and as she handed him a towel, their eyes locked. The air between them crackled with unspoken desire. "We should stop this," Sophia whispered, even as her body betrayed her, leaning toward him. "I'm old enough to be your mother. This affair could destroy her, Ethan. We have to stop." But even as she said it, she knew they wouldn't. The addiction had already taken hold. What we learn? Giving in to temptation often requires a series of small compromises that build upon each other. Sophia and Ethan's affair didn't happen in one moment, but through accumulated choices to be alone together, to share intimate conversations, to ignore warning signs. Their selfishness prioritized their own desires over Ava's well-being, demonstrating how passion without principle leads to devastating consequences.